Hello everyone. I've been getting some comments on how to use Visual Studio Code for C programming. So I made this little video tutorial to help you get started. For those of you who are on a PC, you will probably most likely not have GCC installed on your computer. If you are a Mac user, you have GCC already installed on your Mac, so you could skip the step where you would install GCC. So if you're on a PC, I found that the easiest way to install GCC is to use this tdm-gcc file. And in my notes for the video, I have the address that I used to download it. And I use the 64-bit for my machine. So I would click on it, go to the downloads area, click on the file for the 64-bit GCC file. Once it's downloaded, I would go ahead and install it using all the defaults that the file has built into it. Once I do that for the PC, I will actually go to the Visual Studio Code site and download Visual Studio Code. Now, if you already have it downloaded and installed, for example, if you followed my last video for Java, then you don't need to reinstall it. You just need to open Visual Studio Code. But if this is your first time, I would go ahead and download Visual Studio Code. Once again, the link for the download I'll put in my notes for the video. And pick the correct version you need for your operating system. I'm using Windows currently, so I would download the Windows. Once the file is downloaded, open it up, install using the defaults. Okay, once you have everything installed, you would open up Visual Studio Code. It'll probably look something like this. To get started, you want to create a new file, and Visual Studio Code does not know what language you're using yet, so we would save the file. I'm going to name mine test.c and keep it at the desktop. Once I do that, I have a C file that's available for me. Now I intentionally I use the extensions button here to pull open my file, my extensions. I uninstalled my extensions for C and C++ because I wanted to kind of show you that the help on this corner here would show up and notify you that you could for the help to let you know that you should install these two packages. But it didn't come up for me. On a fresh install it would, or if you're just adding language for the first time, but it did not come up for me. So I'm actually going to show it to you with extensions. You're going to see this one with the stars on them. They are recommended based on the file that I saved, which is a C file, so it wants me to install the C++ IntelliSense and C/C++. Now, if you click on the extensions, it'll show up here, or the help should provide you on this corner which extensions you should install. And also, Code Runner is one that will not show up. You will actually have to search for it. So you would go in the box and type in Code Runner, and you should have this installed as well. And the reason why you want to have Code Runner, it uses it for all these languages here and more. You want to be able to use the play button to run your code. Now, once everything is installed, you saw how quickly that got installed. That wasn't me pausing a video or anything like that. It just went ahead and installed it. You'll see that the tabs are here. They're open for it. I'm going to close those out, and I'm also going to close out the extensions. I'm actually going to set up the preferences in settings. I'm going to type run code. When I type run code, you want to make sure that your preferences are set up so that it is good for your environment. Now, these are personal. You could set up a lot of things that you like or don't like, but two concepts that I like to turn on is the save function, which there's two checkboxes here for save the file before run, or save all files before run. So if you have multiple files, I have that checked off for save all files, or if you just want to save the current file, you have that. So I have both checked on because I don't like to save constantly manually. So I wanted to have an auto save. So I once you hit the play button, it's going to save all the files before running it, just like you would use in other IDEs. And the second concept is that this editor right here is only read only. So if you wanted to enter some input, you couldn't do so right now. So with the box checked, though, I'll be able to interact with this terminal and have input if my program requires it. So you want to make sure that this is checked as well. All the rest you could take a look at and see personally what you want to have turned on or off. Okay, so let's write some code to see if this works. Okay, I wrote some code. This little indicator tells me that I have I need to save my file. I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna save it. Why? Because when I hit the play button, it's gonna save it for me. So I hit the play button. It is working, and the notification went away, and if you notice down here, it ran my code and it says hi everyone. So great, success. We've now completed this install and ran a code for C programming. Once again, if you have a Mac, you do not need to do this step with the GCC, but all the rest of the steps are virtually the same. For another concept though, we might be saying to yourself, hey, this sounds great and looks great, but what if I have trouble? I'm a beginning student, I don't really know what I'm doing, and I need the professor's help or maybe some of the tutors' help. Well, one thing that's really great about Visual Studio Code is that it has something called Live Share down here. And Live Share, when you click on it, it's going to start a session right here. It's going to go ahead and have me sign in, a Microsoft account or stuff like that. And what's good about this Live Share is, kind of minimize this right here. If once I sign in and start getting a session going, I'll be able to get a link in which I will be able to share with somebody. I could use Slack and paste it in there and send it to a colleague of mine or another student, or I could send it by email or some other ways of sending you the link to where you could view my screen and I could see your screen, and we could edit this code together. So I can make changes to this code. I'm actually going to cancel this live share right now just in case. Okay, so all right, good. So close more. Sorry, I want to close those windows out. All right, so you could share the code, and I could see the code you're working on, and I could say, hey, I noticed that you're missing the letter N there or something like that. And I'd be like, oh, okay. And then from my home, I could hit the N and edit that for you, and then you'd be like, oh, wow, I didn't notice that. And we could help with your code, whereas before is like kind of really hard. You have to send me your code or a screenshot, and you really don't see what I'm talking about as you're explaining it to me. We could live share this between each other, and that extension right here, I'm gonna scroll down. You want to get the live share extension pack, okay? And when you do that, it'll install like live share audio, all that. So the live share extension pack is another extension that you should install so that you could use that great feature, especially if you're taking courses. You could be able to share it with your professor, or if you're working on teams. Everybody's sharing some code there. You want to be able to use live share, right? Here's another live share like tool. There we go. So that's another great resource of this. It's right there, the notification. Just some ideas to using Visual Studio Code. It's a great tool if you love to program here in Java or maybe C or C++. It's I found it really useful, and hopefully you do too.